Okay, so if we were to take a look at the menu within our Bootstrap page, we can see here actually we have our 3 menu items that we see here. Those are all list items, again like in the previous example of our web page. So all we need to do is we just need to change those items for the ones we had in the previous page. Okay, so all we need to do is we go to our index page, then we look for our previous menu items. Here they are. We're just going to copy these 3, 1, 2, 3 there, copy them across to our Bootstrap page. So again, 1, 2, 3. Notice there isn't any special class on the li items, so we're fine with that. There we go. Let me tab this one in as well, just to give it a bit of indentation so we can see what's going on and we can understand. Okay, so if we go back to our web page, let's refresh. We can see now we have our nice 3 menu items we had before. The only other thing we need to do is change this project name here. So if we go back to brackets and then we look up, we can find project name. Let's just change that to just do it. Okay, go back to our web page. Just do another refresh, and look, we have our just do it, home, about, and contact us, and of course because we copied them, they work. So there we have a lovely menu, and the great thing about this menu is it sticks to the top. You can change that, but let's just go over a little bit more detail of some of the other things I haven't talked about yet in the navbar for your Bootstrap. So this is our menu, and we can see here we've set the class to be collapsible. Okay, and then we're setting the class for on the UL and ordered list class as the nav. That bit is understandable. The bit that's new is this little section here. Now what this is doing is this is actually setting up the collapsible menu. So when it collapses and it goes beyond a certain point and it goes there, that bit of the code is doing that. So it's actually creating that icon. So these 3 here, icon bar, is actually creating that 3-layer icon bar, and it's making it of type button, and it's setting all that sort of stuff up. So it does all that for you. You don't need to do it. So this part of the navigation, this is all part of the navigation class, as it were, the navbar class. But as I say, within the container here, what we're doing is we're setting up first of all our icon, and then also our unordered list, so that if it shortens it, it goes to the icon. All this is handled by these classes, so you don't need to worry about it. But otherwise it uses the standard text there. All you need to worry about though, because we've used this actual skeleton, is just change your menu items. It's really simple to do. You can have a look and check out what each one of these classes does, but that's all that needs to be changed in regards to our work that we're doing now. The other thing, when I said it's fixed to the top, we can see here navbar top, fixed top. You just remove that or change that. Navbar inverse is to do with the colouring of the navbar. What that's saying is it's inverse, so it's black with grey. You can actually change that, and let me just show you what would happen if I remove that inverse there. Let me just go back here and I'll do a refresh. We can see it's white with the blue. So your choice, if you want to have it a nice white like that or black, I say entirely your choice. We can see though, if we have it that way, you can actually see the text behind it. So to be honest, sometimes it's nice to have that navbar inverse so that you don't actually get. Some of you may have noticed in my previous lecture that there was one thing I actually removed, potentially never copied across in my navigation bar, and that's a class called active. What that does, and let me just show you it in an example. We added it in. What that does now is refresh the page, and I've also inverted the menu, so it's going to change all back. But it actually highlights the item that is active. So in this case, this is the home page, and I've said in my home page, when it displays the menu, to show index is active. If I was actually in my about me page, let me just put this right, then what I want to do is I'd want to set that to be active. I'll put them both active just so you can see it actually working at the moment. But what it does is it highlights, as I say, the one that is now the current page. So whenever you actually create your web page and you create your different pages, what you want to do is set active in that menu different depending on what page it is. So that's class active. Very good if you want to give an example of where you are in your web page or your website, in fact. Okay, so let's tackle the last part of the web page to make it similar to the previous one, which was the form input. So what we want to do, we want to again do it after this row. We don't want it to be in the same, but what I'm also going to do, I'm going to make this the size of the web page. Right, so I'm going to make it a class size of col SM12. So that's saying create this, if I type right, the size of the entire web page. Okay, so there we have our section, as it were, and let me just put a H3 in here saying input your details. Okay, just to your details. Okay, so that's the H3. That's a bit of a header. So next column. So next, let's create the form. In fact, before we create the form, why don't we actually copy the form from our previous web page? Go to right one, because we want to copy this information at some point anyway, and then we can just change it appropriate to the Bootstrap page. So let's paste that in there. Okay. So let me just tab inline that one as well. So what we're saying is the form action page is the same, the method of post is going to stay the same, and all we want to do now, we want to add a couple of more things. So we're going to say our class is equal to form inline, and there's a reason for that. That's because I want to make it go across the page rather than one after the other, and I'm going to remove the BR tags as well because I'm not having them one after the other. I want it to be inline, and then I'm going to say the role is equal to form. Okay, that's all the changes we're going to make there. Next difference I want to do inside the form itself, I want to put a new div. Okay, I want that class to be our form group, because all I'm doing is grouping them together. Okay, and let's close that off, and then what we need to do, we need to put that div just before the end form tag here. So let me just go here and go close off that div. There we go. As I said, I want to remove these BRs. I'm going to do that now. Okay, and what I'm also going to do, I'm going to actually put labels, so I can put a bit of text against them just to make it a little bit more sensical when you look at it. So I'm going to say label, if I can spell today, label for, and then this one is label for name. Okay, and then all we're saying is that is name. There we go. And then again the same thing here, we're going to say label for email. And then text is just email. Okay, that's just putting some labels in there just to make it look a bit nicer. So the next thing we need to do, we need to go to our input type, and what we need to do, we need to say class is equal to form control. Okay, we need to do that on both. And then finally, because we're using labels, we need to set an ID to what have we called it in the label. So ID is equal to name. On this case, let's go down to the email and say class is equal to form control. Okay, and then ID on this one is equal to email. That associates the label with the input type that we're using. So now if I come back to my web page and I do a refresh of that, there we go, we have our lovely input details form. If I was to close this down, you see at the point where it gets too small, it actually resizes everything, so we can get some lovely sizing on a mobile device. If I input some data, so at me for example, and then I click the submit button. Now it won't actually work on this machine because I don't have PHP installed, but it does show that it tries to do the post. So that's how you would add your form on or using Bootstrap. Very similar to the previous website. Okay, so let's just finalize the changes to this web page, make it as similar to the previous web page as possible. To do that, I just want to add those images to the two columns. So the first thing I've done is I've created a new style sheet, and all I've done is copied the information for the left div and right div, the IDs that we used in the previous web page to identify the left and the right div. So what I'm going to do next in Bootstrap is I've set the style sheet to be loaded here. Let me just change this to actually the one we're going to be used, and it's called BS Styles. S on the end. Okay, so that's now loading our BS style sheet. So what we next want to do is we want to go down here and let's just make the ID of this one equal to left div, and then on the next one down, ID is equal to right div. We could make them classes and have the class in with this class name, but let's just use the ID. Makes it nice and easy and simple, very similar to the previous page, I say. All we're going to do now then is to go back to our previous index file, and I'm going to copy this image into my left div here, and then go back again and copy this information for the image into the right div. Let's just save that off and go back to our web page, do a refresh, and there you go. We've got our images back, we've got our lovely menu, we've got our change here. We could even put a logo in there, but hello world, or I could call that just do it, or anything like that. And then we have our columns with our images back and the text, and then we have our input form. As I say, you can change as much as that with your own CSS. We just need to do more in this BS styles to change and add IDs to allow us to change or format the text as we did in the previous example. But see how easy it is to use Bootstrap? See how easy it is to create a mobile responsive website? So simple, very easy. So go and have a look, try reproducing this website and have a play around. Okay, so time for your next assignment. What I want you to do is just go and reproduce this web page. Get to grips with Bootstrap and have a play around. I'll include the code for this web page against this assignment, but try it for yourself, see if you can do it, and then compare it to the code that I've done. Very simple assignment for you guys. Hope you enjoy it.